Welcome to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show, where joy isn't a reward for productivity, it's the secret ingredient. I'm your host, Nicole Louise, coach, wife, and dog mom. This is a no-kid zone by design, created for women who are child-free, childless, or an empty nester embracing your next chapter. You all belong here. Each week, you'll hear inspiring stories from women around the world and learn tools, mindset shifts, and practical strategies for living a joyful life. You'll also discover the science behind why focusing on joy fuels focus, motivation, and lasting productivity. Let's get inspired, get organized, and create a life full of freedom, focus, and joy. Welcome to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show. Today's guest has a really, really cool spin on productivity, and I am so excited to talk with her today. So with me, I have Melissa Borden, who is manifestation coach and teacher, and her business is Manifest with Melissa. So Melissa, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about this.
Absolutely. I am so excited. I can't wait to dive into this. So, manifestation is something that I definitely love learning about, definitely have kind of jumped into on my own through my own learnings. But it's certainly not anything I teach, especially in the realm of productivity. And so, I really can't wait to hear your story on this. So, years ago, Melissa, you were kind of struggling. You were, as you told me, a hot mess, which I totally was too. So I completely relate to you on that. And you were like, you had all these bags and boxes that you would just go through one day, right?
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
I think so many women can relate to that. I feel like we all have those bags and boxes in the back of the closet or even in the middle of the room sometimes. And it's like, oh man. So, can you tell us, because you went from being a complete hot mess to you did a whole 180 and now things are totally different for you. So, can you walk us through like kind of where you were and like what happened?
Yeah, so I did have a lot of boxes and bags everywhere, and it's really funny that I've always been, I mean, I shouldn't say always, but I like things to be kind of sort of neat. So I would do like a surface clean of my apartment, but then hidden away, like you said, in the closet or somewhere, there's always this box and bag. And for me, it was always these papers and what I used to call like adult tasks that for whatever reason would just create so much stress for my brain. I would put it off, ignore it. And truly like years and years and years of stuff. And the funny part was I used to travel and move around a lot. So not only did I have a box and or bag, sometimes I would have like tote bags to go through, but I would actually like pack them and bring them to the next apartment. Like, oh, I'll unpack it then. Like, I'll unpack it then. Like, one day I'll unpack this. And it
Hmm.
just kept going on and on. And actually, it was just this is May. It was just last summer when I finally like cleaned the last box. And that's when that 180 shift happened. And I mean, super simple and we can go into it more, but like there was a moment where I was like, this is done. Like, let's just get organized. And so within a couple days, I remember clearing like the last post-it note. And it was just such a freeing feeling. Like there's nothing else to go through. And it might sound really simple, but the weight that it was holding on me was so much because always in my brain was like, you're not done yet. You're not done yet. There's still more to do. Don't relax yet. What about that box?
Hmm.
And it was, yeah, it was just creating more overwhelm than it needed to.
Hmm.
And so that was probably, I'm 38 now. That probably went on my entire adult life, I guess, until, oh, I am 38. I had a birthday. Sorry, got confused. But yeah, so it went on until I was 37, like the entire 17 years, or oh my goodness, 27 years of adulthood, and just carried it. It was crazy. And now the difference though, it's really funny looking back because it seemed impossible to go through. Like I would never get through the emails, like I would never get through the stack of paperwork. I didn't know what to do with it. I knew that some things couldn't be thrown away and it just seemed like it would be there until I died. And I
Hmm.
remember talking with my best friend about it and she's like, "Yeah, well everybody has that like." And I was like, this can't be normal." And so I made a decision. And so this is where we're getting into manifestation, where I didn't know how to do it, but I just set a manifestation in place. Like, I want to be really organized. I want to feel. And for me, the manifestation was more about the feeling. I set a manifestation that I wanted to feel complete and done at the end of my workday. And so to me, that was like, there's nothing left to do. There's no other task. You're just off the clock, no stacked papers anywhere, just done.
Hmm.
And then within a couple days, I had manifested a brand new VA who helped me organize a little bit, and then just a couple new, what I call neural pathway, like belief changes in my mind
Okay.
started to form of that it was actually easy to be organized. And I don't know how it happened. It was kind of like a blur, but within 2 days, I cleaned out every box, bag, every little piece of post-it note in my office was just gone.
Whoa.
And it was just such an exciting feeling to like be getting through it. And what I really love about your podcast and what you teach, which you mentioned that you don't study manifestation a lot, but I think you'd be interested to find like it lines up pretty well because when you're focusing on joy and you're focusing on the feeling that you want to have, that's when manifestation becomes easy. So if you're just focusing on the feeling of, I really want to feel relaxed, I want to feel caught up. For me, I just wanted to feel caught up for once in my life.
Hmm.
And then when you get into that feeling, the byproduct, the universe is going to make it happen. So for me, the universe just kind of was this little whirlwind cleaning up for me. It really didn't feel like I did the organizing, even though I know I was a tangible part of it, but it came from inspiration and just like this drive when you get excited to do something versus before it always felt like a draining task and I had a switch that let it feel automatic, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Totally makes sense. Yeah. All about the mindset.
Yeah. And then the energy and the joy too, what I really love when you're talking about tapping into joy, like will lead to more productivity. It really does. Because if I'm stuck in that overwhelm, then I'm perpetuating and creating that and bringing more papers into my experience for one day versus when I start to focus on like, what would it feel good to, how good would it feel to feel caught up? Then that becomes my experience. And it did.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely, the more you focus on those positive things, you start to notice more positive things and it fuels your productivity, it fuels your motivation. It just makes you feel so much better, like you said, overall. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, um, so I love that you got yourself organized with manifestation and you actually love organized living. And again, like you were saying, like it feels free. You feel like the day is done. You don't have that mental to-do list constantly running in the background of your brain all the time subconsciously, like we're not even aware, but there's always that,
Yeah.
got to do this, got to do that. Oh my God, forgot to do this, you know, constantly. And so I would love for you to talk about the process of manifesting organization a little bit. So what does that look like?
So it's really interesting when you get, so I run a manifestation program, and inside of there, we start from just getting your energy into alignment, which starts to attract really good things. And that's where, when you're talking about joy, if you can just get into a genuine state of joy, and I mean genuine, not fake it till you make it, but like you actually get yourself to feel really good,
Yeah.
things start to line up for you a little bit. And the more you get into that and start to recognize the evidence of whatever you're thinking about in that joyful state starts to show up in your life, you kind of progress to a place where you can just have a thought and it will show up in your life. So for me, it was really just that intention and that declaration of, okay, I'm ready to be done. I want this to feel caught up. I want to feel good about my office and my life and my home. I don't want that stuff anymore. So it was just an intention of it being done. And so for me, then I just kind of take a step back. It's kind of like set it and forget it, or, let go, let God, and just kind of wait and see what happens. And for me, whether I'm manifesting productivity or manifesting a new car or whatever, it's really important not to be really pushy with it. And you'll find that when you're really, really wanting something or waiting for it to come or trying really hard, like, okay, I set a manifestation, I want to be organized, and now I'm going to will and force myself to feel like an organized person. This is where we can kind of build up resistance, and a lot of people burn out, give up, feel like they failed,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it really is just coming back into that feeling of, can I get an idea of how it will feel to feel caught up, to feel organized, whatever wording you want to call it, whatever the idea of being organized and productive looks like for you. And then kind of hang on to that and just feel it in your day-to-day now, which sounds really simplistic, but when you're able to get the picture of how it will feel to experience that, for me, it's just always comes back to happy and relaxed. Like I'd be happy to have the clutter gone and I'll feel relaxed. It's not hanging over me. So it can be really simple. And so can I just feel that in my day-to-day now, having the intention set, you still got to ask for what you want. So set it, write it down, put it on a post-it note, wherever you want to hang it. Like, this is my intention. This is what I want. I know it's going to make me feel blank, happy, relaxed. And
Hmm.
now let me just feel happy and relaxed throughout my day and start to get excited, knowing, I don't know when, but knowing that it will happen.
Hmm.
And so for me, I do kind of outsource a lot of my manifestations to the universe or whoever. And so that's when, like, I remember for my personal life, I did all the organization myself, cleaned out my email, cleaned out all the boxes. It was fun, but I waited for the moment when the inspiration hit. And so sometimes this can be really subtle, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, where maybe you get home from work and you know you need to clean your house, but you're drained and it's tiring. If you were to do it then, you might end up more drained and tiring, but maybe you leave it for a day, who cares? And eventually you just get in the mood to clean and you can do it really fast, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so the same thing happens with organization or any manifestation. If you wait for that moment of inspiration and act on it right then, the whole process is going to be so easy and so much more fun because your energy and your brain are like, this is go time, go do it. And so a lot of whatever manifestation it is, including this, I just kind of wait for the wave of inspiration to hit. I like to work in flow with the energy that I'm kind of being handed, I guess, versus trying to cultivate and make it before it's really there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I want to back up to I think there's kind of a misconception out there about manifestation where you have to, okay, so if I want to, let's just give a wild example. I want $1 million, right? And
Mhm.
I feel like that's where people kind of think about manifesting is with money a lot of the times. And so if I want $1 million, like people think that, oh, I've got to focus on that. I've got to focus on that. I've got to focus on $1 million. But I think that's not really what it's all about. It's about kind of almost like putting yourself as your future self when you have it. Am I saying that right?
Sort of. So you mentioned a couple times, oh, I got to focus on it. I got to focus on it. I got to focus on it. So when people are putting that much emphasis and effort on it, that's when we come into that resistance and we start to build a wall. Because if you, and this is where it gets tricky and a little bit subtle,
Mm-hmm.
but say I set the intention, like I want to have $1 million. Honestly, truly, that's enough. The hardest part for most people is believing that that's enough and believing that it will actually come in. And so if you set and this is why it's like a little bit intricate and it really just comes down to, I love to teach from the place of, can you just feel joy every day? Things are going to progress for you in a really good way with manifestation. But I think a lot of people do get into it with a big, high, hard goal that their body and brain don't really believe will happen. And so when they set that big goal, or even for, getting organized for me, there were so many times before then, in my past 27 years of trying to get organized, probably more than that with high school. And I didn't really believe that I was the type of person who could be organized. I really thought it had to be, some different type of person and some different type of brain. And I didn't think I had that in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't believe that you could ever have $1 million, or you don't believe that you could ever finally get organized, it just seems out of your reach. You don't believe you could get that soulmate. Well, then that's the underlying energy you're working with. And you probably, harsh to say, but won't make it there. So it's really coming back to being able to know, one, you can change your beliefs super easy. It's a lot easier than people think. And just I like to tell people when they are starting to look for evidence of other people. Find somebody else who maybe started broke and they ended up with $1 million. Find evidence that it can happen and just let your brain see that it's possible. And if you lean into the possibility, remove the resistance, it'll start to show up for you. Does this make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yes.
That's why you teach this and I don't.
Yeah. Well, the other part I wanted to lean into when you said at the end about it's tapping into, I don't remember your exact wording, I apologize, but like a future you who has it, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this is another important subtlety where a lot of people will envision a future version of themselves. Say it's, you can picture yourself super organized in your house, have the great soulmate, you've got the $1 million, all the stuff.
Hmm.
But it's a really, really subtle shift where if you're envisioning a future you, you have to be careful that you're not doing it in a way that you're envisioning a different version of you because you don't feel good enough as you are. So what happens a lot is if people envision a future you, what you're essentially saying to the universe is, I want to picture this future version of me. And the underlying message is because I don't like where I am, because I don't have blank. And so
Wow.
then that underlying energy is, I don't have it, I'm not enough, I don't have blank. And so that's what we end up manifesting. And this is
Wow.
why the same practices can work so great for group A and so terrible for group B.
Yeah.
Because maybe group A is doing the future casting of, I love who I am right now. I know that I'm worthy of that vision. So it's fun to think about. Versus, I need to think about it because I need to change. Can you see
Hmm.
the difference in what the underlying energy is?
Absolutely, yes. And as you're speaking, I can think of very clear examples in my own life where I was both of those people, we'll say.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. And um,
And did you notice a difference in the ease of which, like, whatever it was you were focused on started to come in or create for you?
oh, absolutely. So this is gonna sound like wild and like really bougie, but so we have a dog and she actually yesterday was her birthday. She turned 14.
Aw, oh me.
Yeah. So she's old. She's got really bad arthritis, and our house is kind of strange. Our main living level is on the second story. And so she has to go up and down the stairs to go to the bathroom. She's a big dog. While
Hmm.
we were carrying her, she could still go down the stairs, but we had to carry her up the stairs. And it was like she's 70 pounds, like she's not little. So, it was a safety concern. And, I'm just like, I don't want to drop her, all that. So we were like, my husband and I were talking and we're like, well, we could get an elevator. They are like a lift. They make lifts that you can put in your house. And so I remember it was last summer. I have a very distinct memory. I was sitting outside and I was doing a manifestation exercise and I, you know, put it out there to the universe. We need to get an elevator for Abby, our dog. And this past fall, we got an elevator for Abby. And I was
Yay.
like, oh my God, I manifested that. Like,
Yeah, of
it was
course.
crazy. And again, I knew that it was possible, but it was just one of those things like, they're pricey, they're not cheap. So it's like, you got to save up and make it all work and all that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely different. So for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. So if there is somebody out there who's listening to our conversation right now, Melissa, and she's thinking like, oh, she's full of baloney. This stuff doesn't work. What would you say to a woman who might be thinking that?
I So I would focus on not so much. I know even when I got into this work, I came from a very strict, intense Catholic background. I was taught that the energy was not real, which is very much not true. But like I came from a place of not believing in it at all kinds of wild things. And so when I first got into it, I really like to study the science to back it up. And I've had so many experiences now that like I love that there's so much science with it, but I don't necessarily need the science anymore. Like I get this tangible experiences all the time. But I would say just start to dive into the effects of when you can change your neurochemistry, the beliefs in your mind, like what you think about actually does start to show up in your life, whether you are into manifestation or not. So one of my hypnosis teachers, he does not believe in manifestation. He's not into what he calls the woo-woo, but he uses the same processes. And he's like, if you think about it, the science shows us that it's going to show up, it's going to change your body, it's going to change what comes into your life. And
Mhm.
so he's phenomenal with hypnosis. You can change a belief, change your experience in a moment. And so I would really just recommend start to look at the science behind belief change. And a couple really good books for that is The Biology of Belief, which looks at whatever we're believing in our mind, whatever we think in our mind changes our cells, like it will change your DNA, your genes, which is really fascinating. And then
Yeah.
also one of my favorite books, which is a super easy, fun read, it covers a lot of different topics, is Why Woo Woo Works. And both of those are written by people with doctorates. And it's really just looking at the science behind, okay, well, why is what we're thinking about showing up in our life? And it really is just such this beautiful thing. And if you think about it in super, super simple terms, the energy is going to change, yes. But if you're not into the energy aspect of it, we know, like, it's just, we know this, that when we think we can, we can't. What was that, a Dr. Seuss? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And so if you really just start to play with noticing how your mood is, if you go into a task and start to tell yourself, I'm going to be terrible at this pitch, I'm never going to clean my house, this is going to be awful, look at what that does to your mood. And do you feel motivated? Do you have drive? Is it working? Versus if you try to psych yourself up a little bit, like, this is going to be the best pitch ever, I'm going to have so much fun cleaning my house, this is going to go amazing. Watch what happens to your mood and your energy. And so what you're doing in that moment is you are starting to on the manifest side. You're manifesting a bad outcome or a good outcome. But just on the tangible, what you notice in your mood, you'll feel that intrinsic drive. You'll feel the natural inspiration to make it a lot easier. And that's a really easy way to start to play around with, okay, what I'm thinking about and how I'm feeling really is influencing the way that I show up. And you can go far and wide in what that attracts in, but bringing it like really close to home in yourself, it's really just going to impact the way that you show up. And of course, it's going to have a huge ripple effect.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm starting to put it together how manifestation and joyful productivity really do go hand in hand because it is about aligning your energy, focusing on joy, focusing on happy, making sure your energy is like high vibe in a good place. And I think about like as an opposite example, I guess. I think about people who watch the news and get stuck in that like negative news
Hmm.
cycle. I have people in my life who I'm like, I can't listen to that. Um,
Yeah. What you focus on starts to create who you are.
yeah, and I just I listen to their conversations and I'm like, oh, it's very draining. It's very negative. And so it's like, yeah, you gotta kind of you really do have to focus on what you're listening to, what you're talking about.
What you're
It all,
scrolling.
yes, yes, it all impacts your energy.
It does.
Yeah. And I know, like, for myself, if I'm scrolling at lunch, on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and it's negative vibe kind of stuff, I'm like, ugh, like I feel awful after looking at
Yeah.
stuff. And so you really have to pay attention and really monitor what you're consuming on all levels because it does affect your
Hmm.
energy.
It absolutely does. And so, like I was saying, if you're not into energy, which I'm very much into energy, but
Hmm.
you could just make it, call it your mood. Like your mood is still your energy. And
Yeah.
emotion just means energy in motion. So when we start to pay attention, like, am I feeling happy? Am I sad? Am I angry? Well, what caused that? And how can I shift it to be 1 degree higher? I don't think you have to live at like a golden retriever, happy high all the time. But, anywhere from content, balanced, and above is really, really good and what you kind of want to go for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So in thinking about that, so negative emotions. So like, we all experience negative emotions, whether it's, disappointment or grief, sadness, those things.
Mhm.
I talk about, you have to feel those things and then move past them. Like you have to kind of sit in that for a bit so that you're able to process it and move through. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. So it's really interesting with emotions, and we dive super deep into this with my manifest program because grief, depression, this is something that hits all of us in different ways and at different times. And if your father is dying, I don't expect you to feel joyful about it, right? It's a normal human emotion. You can feel grief.
Yeah.
So it is really important to feel it and exactly what you're talking about when you can be present and just allow yourself to be human. And I think the biggest part of that is just have a little compassion, like know that it's okay to feel those lower emotions. That will actually let it shift out of your experience a lot faster. And of course, the goal isn't, to shift through the grief faster, although that might be some people's goal. But I don't mean that as in it's bad to feel grief. I don't think it's bad to feel that at all. I think it's a beautiful part of life, albeit painful in the moment.
Hmm.
But when you can let yourself actually be with it without, again, it's that resistance, without resisting it, without wishing it would change, without wishing something were different, just be with it. You'll find that it will become a little bit consuming, but that consuming feeling is it shifting up and out. You can feel it moving through your body when you let yourself cry, when you let yourself do whatever it is you need to do, versus if you're feeling grief or even our society, I think, prones us to stuff down anger. Like if there's
Yes.
something going on in the news or at work and it's just not appropriate to scream at your boss, right? And
Right.
so we are taught to stuff things down versus being able to have that calm conversation. Sometimes you can't even have a conversation back to your boss. You just have to keep it internalized depending on where you work.
Hmm.
So giving yourself space to literally just feel it will let it shift out. And I find I used to struggle with like the deepest, darkest depression you could imagine.
Mm.
And a lot of that reason was it was just stored energy that I wasn't expressing. I wasn't taught that I could share my emotions. Crying was bad, all of this different kind of stuff. And so it just gets stored. And then it literally becomes this heavy weight. And it's really interesting too. I was thinking about this before we got on the podcast that for me, and not for everybody, I think everyone's different, but for me, there was this big parallel between how I felt internally, all the stored emotion, like an internal chaos that matched the clutter and the chaos in my life. And so it was like this parallel of what is inside of me is being created outside. So if I didn't feel worthy, and this is subconscious, I didn't sit there thinking I am not worthy, right? But it's
Right, right.
subconscious. And
Yeah.
so if I didn't feel good enough to share and express and release all this stuff and get organized with my own thoughts, with my own grief, then
Hmm.
how on earth did I expect my email inbox to be clean, right? It's just like manifesting in other ways of the disorganized and stress.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful and so true. And I think just at a very base level, just tapping into your body and tapping into your feelings and your emotions. I also grew up Catholic, and so I I get that. And yeah, like stuffing down your emotions, like we weren't allowed to show emotion growing up. Like it was very much if someone got mad at you, they would just not talk to you for a week and then pretend everything was fine and we would move on.
Yeah.
And like we would never, there was no closure, there was no conversation or discussion
Yeah.
about that. And so yeah, all those feelings really got trapped and stored in myself as well and came to a head quite recently. But that's a story for another day. But anyway, um, but it's so true. Like that taught me to really tap in and get quiet and, get into a meditative state, tap into what is going on inside of your body. What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? Like that was something,
Yeah.
we're not taught these things in school, and nobody, nobody teaches us this, but it's so critical to our overall well-being. So thank you for sharing all of that because it's really, really important. That was really powerful, and I just want to thank you for sharing all of that because tapping into your inner emotions and what your body is doing and feeling is just critical to our overall well-being. And so thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, it is. And it's it relates so well to so many different areas. And I know I've been diving into the healing work now in myself, maybe 15 years ago, I started to become aware that it needed to be addressed. And then maybe the last 7 to 10 years, I've gotten really good at getting the emotions up and out and processing all the different stuff. And then it really is like a parallel. The more internally balanced I felt, the more my world, my life became balanced to reflect that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. So true. All right. So now that we've covered a whole bunch of manifestation topics, if there's somebody out there who is like, hell yeah, I am ready for more, Melissa, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best place. So manifest W Melissa. So pretty much manifest with Melissa, but just a W in there. And send me a DM. Let me know what you thought of this episode. And I do have a little template for intention setting, which I'm happy to hand out as well. And
Awesome.
it's free, but it really fits well with this, where we're talking about can you really get into that joyful place and then just start to set your intention and see what comes in, whether it's for getting more organized or whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest and create a new elevator, right? We just have to ask, and learning to ask in a good way is really, really helpful to set it and forget it and just kind of allow the magic to work for you.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. So your resource, is that something I can link in the show notes below so they can just click and download, or do they need to go to your website for that?
Yes, but I'm not sure, like it'll be good for a year or so, but I don't know how long this podcast will be up. So yeah, if they send a DM, we can always get it to them. But for yeah, if you're comfortable with it, I'm happy to give you a link for the show notes. I just
Okay.
can't guarantee, I don't know if in like 5 years it will still be there. But we've
Right,
always got
right.
different freebies and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Just going to make a note of that. All right. So let's wrap up with our last question. So, here at the Positively Joyful Productivity Show, we align with joy, of course. And so, Melissa, I would love to know what is one thing that you do for yourself that brings you joy?
Okay, this might not be a very exciting answer, but it is
That's
something I do every single day, and it comes back to the intentions we were just talking about. So
okay.
every day when I wake up, I'll think about what it is I'm about to do that day, and I really will just set an intention that whatever I'm doing, that what's the phrasing I would use? Just like, for example, when I have the podcast interview, it will be a lot of fun and I'll feel really good doing it. Like super simple and to the point. So I'll set up my day that no matter what I'm doing, I'm already having the intention and the desire that the whole day is fun. So I do have a lot of fun throughout the day. And for me, it's really important to tap into that. But on a more tangible, if I ever need like a break or just something for me, I really love just watching clouds. So I'll go outside and just lay with my dog and we'll watch clouds. And I don't know what she watches, but it's just really a nice reminder of me of how broad everything is and just to tap back into
Mhm.
the expansion of it all really just puts me in a really good mood.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think that that is like boring or dull at all. I love that answer. I think that starting your day on a positive note like that and just setting your intention is awesome. I started doing that myself consistently. And so as a teacher, my day can be very chaotic. And
Hmm.
I found a meditation. It's a real quick one I do in the morning, and it's about letting the day be. Let the day be easy, fun and easy, I think, or easy and light, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
and I gotta tell you, like when I set that intention in the morning, my day magically gets easy. It's amazing.
Yes. Set it and forget it. And I bet you don't have a lot of resistance. Checking up on it's easy. You just say it, ask, and it arrives.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it really is incredible. And watching the clouds, that just takes me back to like being a kid and being so carefree and just loving the outside. So, no, I
Yeah.
love your answer. That's cool.
Hmm.
All right. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for being here today. This has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and learning about manifestation and how it aligns wonderfully with joyful productivity. So thank you
It really
so much for
does.
sharing that.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, to my listeners, please make sure you go check out Melissa on Instagram, send her a DM, show her some love, and stay tuned for next week.